Captain Jake Morrison had seen many scary things during his 20 years in space. He had fought pirates near Mars. He had watched alien ships destroy entire colonies. But nothing had prepared him for what he was seeing now through the big windows of Earth Defense Station Olympus. The Draconian war fleet was coming. Jake stood on the bridge of the space station, looking out at the dark shapes moving toward Earth. The alien ships looked like giant metal dragons floating in space. Their hulls were black and covered with spikes. Bright red lights glowed along their sides like angry eyes. The biggest ship was so huge that it blocked out the stars behind it. "Sir, I count 212 enemy ships," said Lieutenant Amy Parker. She was young, maybe 25, with short brown hair and nervous hands. This was her first real battle. "The biggest one is 15 kilometers long. That's bigger than most of our cities." Jake nodded but said nothing. He had read the reports from the outer colonies. The Draconians did not take prisoners. They did not want to talk or make deals. They came to each world with one purpose: to destroy everything that lived there. Admiral Helen Brooks walked onto the bridge. She was 50 years old and had gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her blue uniform was perfect, without a single wrinkle. But Jake could see worry in her dark eyes. "How long until they reach Earth?" she asked. 4 hours, ma'am," replied Lieutenant Parker. "They're moving faster than we expected." Helen looked out at the enemy fleet. Earth's defense force had 50 ships. Good ships with brave crews. But 50 against 200 was not good odds. The math was simple and terrible. "Are our families safe?" asked Jake quietly. Helen knew what he meant. All military families had been moved to the underground cities. If Earth fell today, at least some people might survive long enough for rescue ships to find them. "They're as safe as we can make them," Helen said. "Now we do our job." The Draconian ships moved into attack formation. Jake had studied their battle plans. They would surround Earth like a pack of wolves. Then they would fire their planet cracker weapons until nothing was left but floating rocks. On Earth below, 6 billion people were going about their normal day. Kids were in school. People were at work. Most of them did not even know that death was coming from the stars. "All ships, this is Admiral Brooks," Helen spoke into her radio. "Take your positions. Remember your training. Fight for your families. Fight for your world." Jake watched the enemy ships get bigger and bigger. He could see the weapon ports opening along their hulls. Huge guns that could melt mountains were turning toward Earth. The lead Draconian ship was the size of a small moon. It had dozens of smaller ships flying around it like insects. Red lights pulsed along its surface in patterns that hurt to look at. Jake had seen videos of what those lights meant. They were counting down to the attack. "Enemy ships are charging weapons," reported Lieutenant Parker. Her voice was steady, but Jake could hear the fear underneath. Helen raised her hand. She was about to give the order to attack. Earth's small fleet would rush forward and try to do as much damage as possible before they were destroyed. It was not a plan for victory. It was a plan to die with honor. Then something impossible happened. The giant Draconian ship just stopped being there. Jake blinked hard and looked again. The massive vessel that had been filling half the sky was simply gone. Not destroyed in an explosion. Not damaged and drifting. Just gone, like it had never existed at all. What just happened? Amy Parker stared at her instruments. "Sir, the lead ship is not showing on any of our sensors." Before anyone could answer, another Draconian ship vanished. Then another. And another. Jake watched in shock as the enemy fleet disappeared ship by ship. It was like watching someone erase a drawing, but instead of using an eraser, they were using magic. Each ship would be there 1 second and gone the next. The smaller Draconian fighters tried to run. Jake could see them turning away from Earth and firing their engines at full power. But it did not matter. The invisible force that was destroying their fleet caught up with them easily. One by one, they winked out of existence. "My God," whispered Admiral Brooks. "What is doing this?" Lieutenant Parker was pushing buttons on her control panel, trying to understand what her instruments were telling her. "I'm not reading any weapon signatures. No energy beams. No explosions. They're just disappearing. In less than 5 minutes, the entire Draconian war fleet was gone. 200 ships and over 1 million alien soldiers had vanished without a trace. The space around Earth was empty except for the human defense ships, which hung there like toys forgotten in a bathtub. Jake felt like he was dreaming. This morning he had been preparing to die in battle. Now he was alive and Earth was safe, but he had no idea why. "All ships report in," Admiral Brooks spoke into her radio. Her voice was calm, but Jake could see her hands shaking. One by one, the human ship captains reported that they were fine. None of them had fired a shot. None of them had even seen what destroyed the enemy fleet. "Sir, I'm getting calls from Earth," said Lieutenant Parker. "Everyone wants to know what happened to the alien ships. The whole planet watched them disappear on live television." Helen Brooks walked to the big window and looked out at the empty space where death had been waiting just moments before. "I wish I could tell them," she said quietly. "But I have no idea what just saved us." Jake joined her at the window. He had been in the military long enough to know that someone always took credit when the good guys won a battle. But there was no one to take credit this time. No human weapon could do what they had just seen. No human technology could make ships vanish like that. "Ma'am, what do we tell the families?" asked Lieutenant Parker. Helen thought for a long moment. How do you explain a miracle? How do you tell 6 billion people that they were saved by something that should not exist? "We tell them the truth," she said finally. "The enemy came to destroy Earth. Something stopped them. We don't know what or who, but we're going to find out." Jake looked down at Earth turning slowly below them. The blue and white planet looked peaceful and beautiful. But somewhere out there, something with incredible power had just saved every living thing on that world. The question was simple but terrifying. What was powerful enough to make an entire alien war fleet disappear, and why did it want to protect Earth? Jake Morrison had a feeling that his life was about to get much more complicated. The war with the Draconians was over before it started, but a much bigger mystery had just begun. Far below on Earth, children were playing in parks while their parents went back to work. None of them knew how close they had come to dying today. None of them knew that something ancient and powerful was watching over them from the darkness between the stars. The Draconian fleet had come to Earth expecting an easy victory. Instead, they had found something that could erase them from existence with a thought. The question that would keep Jake awake for many nights was simple. What happens when Earth's mysterious protector decides that humanity is the threat that needs to disappear? For now, Earth was safe. But Jake Morrison had learned that safety was just another word for the calm before the storm. 3 days after the Draconian fleet vanished, Dr. Lisa Chen could not sleep. She kept thinking about the impossible things she had watched on television. 200 alien warships had simply stopped existing. No explosions, no debris, no trace that they had ever been there at all. Lisa was Earth's best expert on alien cultures and technology. She had spent 15 years studying the ruins that other species left behind on dead planets. She thought she understood how advanced civilizations worked. But what happened to the Draconians broke every rule she knew. The government had called her to join a special investigation team. They wanted answers, and they wanted them fast. Lisa packed her equipment and took a shuttle to the research ship Terra Nova, which was waiting in orbit around Earth. The Terra Nova was not like the military ships that had faced the Draconians. It was built for science, not war. Its hull was white instead of gray, and it was covered with sensors and communication dishes instead of weapons. Lisa liked it better than the warships. It felt more honest somehow. Commander Rick Davis was waiting for her in the main meeting room. Rick was a soldier, but not the kind who solved problems by shooting them. He was part of Special Operations, the group that handled strange and dangerous situations that normal military units could not understand. "Dr. Chen, thank you for coming," Rick said as Lisa walked into the room. He was tall and had short black hair with some gray at the sides. His handshake was firm but not trying to prove anything. "Call me Lisa," she said, "and I want answers as much as you do. What happened out there should not be possible." Rick introduced her to the rest of the team. Dr. Steve Martinez was a physicist who studied how energy and matter worked in space. Lieutenant Paul Stevens was their best pilot and navigator. Amy Parker, who had been on the space station during the battle, was there to help with the technical details. "We've been scanning the area where the Draconian fleet disappeared," Dr. Martinez explained. He was a thin man with thick glasses who always looked like he was thinking about complicated math problems. "We're finding some very strange readings." Lisa looked at the data on the big screen. The numbers and graphs meant nothing to most people, but she had learned to read them during her years of research. What she saw made her stomach feel cold. "This is impossible," she said quietly. "Space itself is different in that area. It's like reality was bent somehow." Rick leaned forward in his chair. "Bent how?" Lisa pointed to the strange patterns on the screen. "Imagine space is like a piece of paper. Someone took a huge eraser and rubbed out a section of it. But instead of leaving a hole, they folded the edges together so you can't tell anything was ever there." Dr. Martinez nodded. "That's exactly what we think happened. But we have no idea what could do something like that." The team had been working for 3 days and nights trying to understand what they had seen. They had sent probes to scan the empty space where the Draconian ships had been. They had analyzed every piece of data from the battle. But they were no closer to answers than when they started. "There's something else," Amy Parker said. She looked tired and worried. "I've been going through old military records looking for anything similar to what we saw." Lisa felt a chill run down her back. "You found something?" Amy nodded and brought up a new set of files on the screen. "These are classified reports going back over 60 years. Look at this one from 1943. The file showed a report from World War II. A German submarine had been attacking Allied ships in the North Atlantic. Then, according to the surviving crew of a British destroyer, the submarine had simply vanished. Not sunk, not damaged, just gone. The British captain wrote that 1 second the submarine was there, and the next second it wasn't." Amy continued. "His crew thought they were going crazy." Rick studied the old report. "Could be a mistake. War is confusing." "Maybe," Amy said. "But look at this one from Korea in 1951. Another file appeared. This time it was a report about a Chinese army division that had been moving to attack American forces. The division had over 10,000 soldiers and hundreds of vehicles. According to scout planes, they had been marching down a valley toward the front lines. When American forces reached the valley, the next day there was no sign of the Chinese division. No bodies, no equipment, no tracks in the mud. It was like 10,000 men had never existed. The commanding officer wrote that it was impossible, Amy said. But he couldn't argue with the facts. The enemy division was just gone. Lisa felt like pieces of a huge puzzle were starting to fit together in her mind. "Show me more." Amy brought up file after file. A Spanish fleet that vanished while crossing the Atlantic in 1588. Roman legions that disappeared while marching through Germanic forests. Viking raids that ended when entire ships and crews stopped existing. "How far back do these reports go?" Lisa asked. "As far back as we have written records," Amy replied. "Maybe further. I found references in some very old books that might be describing the same thing." Dr. Martinez was studying the data with new interest. "If this has been happening for hundreds or thousands of years, then whatever is doing it has been around for a very long time." Rick was quiet for several minutes, thinking. Finally, he spoke. "These disappearances all have something in common. The Spanish fleet was sailing to attack England. The Roman legions were invading Germanic tribes. The Chinese division was moving to attack Americans. The German submarine was sinking ships." Lisa understood what he was saying. They were all aggressors. They were all trying to hurt someone else. And they all vanished when they got close to their targets, Rick added. Like something was protecting the people they wanted to attack. The meeting room was very quiet. Everyone was thinking about what this meant. If Rick and Lisa were right, then something had been secretly protecting people for centuries. Something with the power to make entire armies disappear. But why reveal itself now? Dr. Martinez asked. Why let us see what happened to the Draconians instead of making them vanish quietly like all the others? Lisa had been wondering the same thing. Maybe because the threat was too big to hide. The Draconian fleet was huge. If they had just vanished without anyone seeing, people would have asked questions anyway. Rick stood up and walked to the window that looked out at Earth. The blue and white planet looked peaceful and beautiful, but now he knew it was hiding a tremendous secret. Or maybe, he said slowly, whatever has been protecting us decided it was time for us to know the truth. Amy Parker was still going through old files on her computer. Suddenly, she sat up straight. I found something else. It's not about disappearances. She put a new file on the screen. This one was different from the others. It was a report from an American pilot in World War II. Lieutenant Johnny Walsh was flying over the Pacific in 1944, Amy read. His plane was damaged, and he was going to crash into the ocean, but he wrote that something caught his plane and guided it safely to an island where he could land. Rick turned away from the window. Something saved him? That's what he claimed. He said it felt like invisible hands were holding his plane up. Other pilots reported similar things. Damaged planes that somehow made it home when they should have crashed. Ships that survived storms that should have sunk them. Lisa felt excitement building in her chest. It doesn't just protect people by destroying their enemies. It also saves them directly when they're in danger. Dr. Martinez was looking at all the data with new eyes. If this is true, then Earth has a guardian. Something that has been watching over humanity for a very long time. The team spent the rest of the day going through more files and reports. The pattern was clear once they knew what to look for. Throughout human history, people had been saved from disasters and enemies by something they could not see or understand. The question now, Rick said as they prepared to end their meeting, is what do we do with this information? Lisa looked around the room at her teammates. They had discovered something that would change how humanity saw itself and its place in the universe. Earth was not alone and unprotected in the dangerous galaxy. Something incredibly powerful had been keeping them safe. But that raised new questions that were even more frightening than the ones they had answered. What was this guardian? Where did it come from? And most importantly, what did it want in return for protecting humanity? We need to find it, Lisa said quietly. We need to learn who or what has been saving us. Because if we don't understand our protector, how can we be sure it will always be on our side? Rick nodded. Then that's our new mission. We're going to find Earth's guardian and get some answers. Outside the windows of the Terra Nova, Earth continued its slow rotation through space. But now the people on that research ship knew their world was not as alone as it seemed. Something ancient and powerful was watching over them from the darkness between the stars. The investigation was just beginning. Dr. Lisa Chen had been staring at the ancient book for 3 hours. The pages were so old that they crumbled when she touched them. The writing was in a language that had been dead for over 1,000 years. But she could read it because studying old languages was part of her job. The book had been found in a monastery in Tibet. The monks had kept it safe for centuries, even though they did not understand what it meant. Lisa understood now. The book was a map. Commander Davis, you need to see this, Lisa called across the research lab on the Terra Nova. Rick walked over to her desk. He had been working with Dr. Martinez, trying to understand the strange energy readings they kept detecting in space. So far, they had found nothing but more questions. What is it? Rick asked. Lisa pointed to a page covered with symbols and drawings. This book was written by a Tibetan monk in the year 1247. He wrote about lights in the sky that came to protect his village from raiders. Rick looked at the strange symbols. To him, they just looked like scratches on old paper. What does it say? The monk wrote that the lights spoke to him in dreams. They told him about a place beyond the edge of the world where the guardians wait. He drew a map showing how to find it. Lisa had been comparing the monk's map with star charts from other ancient books. Egyptian priests had written about the same location. Greek scholars had drawn similar maps. Even Native American tribes had stories about a place in the sky where the spirits of protection lived. They're all pointing to the same spot in space, Lisa explained. A region beyond Pluto's orbit where our telescopes have never found anything. Dr. Martinez joined them at Lisa's desk. He was holding a tablet computer covered with numbers and graphs. That's interesting because I've been detecting strange signals from that exact area. Rick looked at both of them. What kind of signals? Very weak, Dr. Martinez said. I almost missed them. They're not radio waves or anything we normally use. It's more like space itself is humming very quietly. Lisa felt excited. After days of searching through old books and files, they finally had a real clue. We need to go there. Rick thought about it. The area Lisa was talking about was very far from Earth. It would take their ship weeks to reach it, and they had no idea what they would find. It could be dangerous, he said. The Draconian fleet was dangerous too, Lisa replied. But something made them disappear to protect us. Maybe it's time we met our protector. 2 days later, the Terra Nova was traveling through the outer solar system toward the coordinates Lisa had found in the ancient books. The ship was moving as fast as its engines could push it, but space was very big, and the journey was slow. Lieutenant Paul Stevens was their pilot. He was good at his job, but even he was nervous about flying so far from Earth. We're now further from home than any human has ever been, he announced over the ship's radio. Lisa spent the trip studying more ancient texts. She found references to the Guardian in dozens of different cultures. The Mayans had called it the Watcher in the Void. Celtic Druids wrote about the shield beyond the sky. Every culture had a different name, but they were all describing the same thing. Dr. Martinez was monitoring his instruments as they got closer to their destination. The signals are getting stronger, he reported. Whatever is out here, it's big. On the 5th day of their journey, Paul Stevens called everyone to the bridge. You need to see this, he said. His voice sounded strange. Lisa and the others hurried to the front of the ship. Paul was staring at his navigation screen with wide eyes. According to his instruments, there was nothing ahead of them but empty space. But something was wrong. The stars, Amy Parker whispered. Lisa looked out the big window at the front of the ship. The stars that should have been ahead of them were gone, not blocked by something dark, but actually missing. It was like someone had cut a hole in the sky. What's our position? Rick asked Paul. Exactly where the ancient map said to go, Paul replied. But there's nothing here. Dr. Martinez was checking his instruments. That's not true. I'm reading massive energy signatures. There's definitely something here, but it's hidden somehow. Lisa remembered what the old books had said. The Guardians lived beyond the edge of the world, in a place that could only be found by those who truly sought protection for others. Maybe we need to ask for permission, she said. Rick looked at her. Ask who? Whoever has been protecting Earth for centuries. They must know we're here. Lisa walked to the ship's communication system. She had no idea if anyone would hear her, but she had to try. This is Dr. Lisa Chen from Earth. We know you've been protecting our world. We want to thank you and learn more about you. May we approach? For several minutes, nothing happened. The Terra Nova drifted in space near the area where the stars disappeared. Lisa began to think she had made a mistake. Then space itself began to change. The darkness ahead of them started to shimmer like water. Colors that had no names flowed across the emptiness. The missing stars came back, but now they seemed to be moving in slow circles. My God, Dr. Martinez breathed. Look at the energy readings. His instruments were showing power levels that should have been impossible. Whatever was hidden in this place had more energy than Earth's sun. Slowly, like a curtain being pulled aside, the emptiness revealed what lay behind it. Lisa gasped and grabbed Rick's arm to steady herself. A structure hung in space ahead of them. It was huge beyond imagination, stretching for hundreds of kilometers in every direction. But it was not built like human buildings or even alien ships. It looked alive somehow, with flowing curves and surfaces that moved like breathing. The structure was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. Its surface was covered with patterns that seemed to change when Lisa wasn't looking directly at them. Lights flowed along its hull like glowing rivers. It was clearly made by someone, but it felt as natural as a mountain or ocean. How big is that thing? Rick asked. Paul checked his instruments. It's over 300 kilometers long. That's bigger than most asteroids. As they watched, a section of the structure began to open. It was not like doors or hatches on human ships. Instead, the surface seemed to flow apart like liquid, creating an opening just the right size for the Terra Nova. They want us to go inside, Lisa said. Rick was thinking like a soldier. Going inside an unknown alien structure was dangerous. They had no idea what was waiting for them, but they had come too far to turn back now. Paul, take us in slowly, he ordered. Everyone stay alert. The Terra Nova moved toward the opening in the alien structure. As they got closer, Lisa could see that the walls were covered with symbols similar to the ones in the ancient books she had studied. But these symbols were moving, changing, telling stories in a language of light and motion. The symbols, she whispered. They're showing the history of Earth. Lisa watched as the moving pictures told the story of humanity. She saw the first humans learning to use fire. She saw the building of the first cities. She saw wars and disasters, but also moments of great kindness and bravery. The Terra Nova passed through the opening and into a vast chamber inside the structure. The walls glowed with soft light that felt warm and welcoming. In the center of the chamber was a platform, and on the platform stood a figure waiting for them. The figure looked human, but there was something different about her. She seemed to glow with inner light. Her hair moved as if she was underwater, even though they were in space. Her clothes looked like they were made of starlight itself. When she spoke, her voice did not come through the ship's radio. Instead, Lisa heard it directly in her mind, as if the woman was standing right beside her. "Welcome, children of Earth," the figure said. "I am Maya, guardian prime of this station. I have been waiting a very long time for you to find us." Lisa felt tears in her eyes. After all the searching and wondering, they had finally found Earth's protector. But looking at Maya, she realized this was only the beginning. There were so many questions to ask, so much to learn. "Why have you been protecting us?" Lisa asked, her voice barely a whisper. Maya smiled, and her smile held the warmth of 1,000 suns. "Because you are special, Dr. Chen. More special than, you know. Come, let me show you why humanity was chosen for a destiny greater than you can imagine." As the Terra Nova settled onto the platform inside the Guardian station, Lisa knew that nothing would ever be the same. They had found their protector, but in doing so, they had also found a truth that would change the future of the entire human race. Maya led the team from the Terra Nova through corridors that seemed to bend and twist in impossible ways. Dr. Lisa Chen tried to understand what she was seeing, but the Guardian station did not follow any rules of physics that she knew. The walls curved upward and became the ceiling, then curved again to become the floor. Yet somehow they were always walking normally. "How is this possible?" Dr. Martinez whispered. He was staring at his instruments, but they were showing readings that made no sense. Maya heard him even though she was walking ahead of the group. "Your science is based on what you can see and touch," she said without turning around. "But reality is much bigger than that. When you have lived as long as we have, you learn to work with forces that have no names in your language." "Commander." Rick Davis was trying to stay alert for danger, but everything about this place felt peaceful. The air was warm and smelled like flowers. Soft music seemed to come from the walls themselves. It was hard to believe that something so beautiful could also be the source of the terrible power that had destroyed the Draconian fleet. They entered a huge room with a ceiling so high that it disappeared into darkness above them. The walls were covered with moving pictures that showed scenes from across the galaxy. Lisa could see planets she had never imagined, with purple skies and silver oceans. She saw cities that floated in the air and forests made of crystal. "This is the Gallery of Worlds," Maya explained. "Here we keep the history of every civilization we have encountered." Amy Parker was staring at one section of the wall that showed a planet covered in red sand. Strange creatures with 6 legs were building pyramids that glowed with inner light. "How many worlds have you seen?" "Thousands," Maya replied. "We have watched civilizations rise and fall for millions of years. We have seen species that could move mountains with their minds, and others that could travel between dimensions. But in all that time, we have never seen anything like humanity. Maya stopped in front of a section of the wall that showed Earth. But this was not the Earth that Lisa knew. The pictures showed her world throughout history. She saw dinosaurs walking through ancient forests. She saw the first humans discovering fire. She saw the building of the pyramids and the Great Wall of China. Your species is very young, Maya continued. Most civilizations we encounter are millions of years old before they learn to travel between stars. Humans have only been using tools for a few thousand years, but you are already reaching toward other worlds. Rick was studying the moving pictures. That doesn't make us special, just fast learners. Maya smiled at him. Watch this. The wall changed to show scenes from human history, but not the ones Lisa expected. Instead of great battles or famous discoveries, it showed ordinary people doing extraordinary things. A soldier in World War II throwing himself on a grenade to save his friends. A woman in ancient Rome hiding escaped slaves in her house. A man in medieval times giving his last piece of bread to a hungry child. Every species we have studied follows the same pattern, Maya explained. They start by caring only about themselves. Then they learn to care about their families. Eventually they care about their tribes or nations, but most never go beyond that. The pictures on the wall continued to change. Lisa saw firefighters running into burning buildings to save strangers. She saw doctors traveling to dangerous places to help people they had never met. She saw teachers spending their own money to buy supplies for poor students. Humans are different, Maya said. You care about people you have never met and will never see again. You risk your lives for strangers. You fight against injustice, even when it does not affect you personally. This quality is so rare that we have only seen it in 3 species out of the thousands we have encountered. Dr. Martinez was trying to understand what Maya was telling them. But humans fight wars too. We hurt each other all the time. Yes, Maya agreed, but even in your wars, you create rules to protect innocent people. You build hospitals to heal your enemies. You write stories that teach your children to be kind to others. No other young species does this. Lisa was beginning to understand why Earth had been protected. You chose us because of our compassion. We chose you because you choose compassion. Maya corrected. Every day, every human makes decisions about how to treat others. Most of you, most of the time, choose to be kind. This is not normal in the galaxy. Maya led them to another room where the walls showed the current state of the galaxy. Lisa saw hundreds of star systems, each with planets full of life. But many of those worlds were dark and silent. This is why we became guardians, Maya said. Too many civilizations destroy themselves or others. The Draconians were just one example. They conquered over 50 worlds before they came to Earth. Rick looked at the dark planets on the wall. What happened to the people who lived there? Gone, Maya said simply. The Draconians do not take prisoners or make slaves. They simply eliminate any life that is not like them. Amy Parker was studying the star map. How many aggressive species are out there? More than you want to know, Maya replied. The galaxy is a dangerous place for peaceful civilizations. That is why guardians are needed. Maya touched the wall and the pictures changed again. Now they showed the guardian station where they were, standing. But the station was not alone. Lisa could see dozens of other structures like it scattered throughout the galaxy. We built these stations to protect innocent worlds, Maya explained. For millions of years, we have been the shield between civilizations that want to create and those that want to destroy. Dr. Martinez was looking at the technical details of the guardian stations. Even with his advanced training, he could barely understand what he was seeing. How do you make entire fleets disappear? We do not destroy them, Maya said. We move them. Lisa did not understand. Move them where? To a place outside normal space and time. They still exist, but not in a way that can hurt anyone. Think of it as putting them in a room with no doors. Rick was thinking like a soldier again. But you could destroy them if you wanted to. Maya looked sad. Yes, but destruction creates pain and anger. Those emotions spread like poison through the galaxy. It is better to remove threats without adding to the suffering in the universe. The group continued through the station. Maya showed them rooms full of technology that looked more like art than machines. She explained that the Guardians had once been physical beings like humans, but they had evolved beyond the need for bodies, millions of years ago. "We became beings of pure energy and thought," she said. "It allowed us to live forever and to travel instantly across the galaxy. But it also made us tired." Lisa did not understand what Maya meant by tired. How can energy get tired? When you have seen the same patterns repeat for millions of years, when you have watched countless civilizations make the same mistakes over and over, you begin to lose hope, Maya explained. "We started as explorers and became guardians out of necessity. But we never wanted to be the police of the galaxy forever." They entered a room that felt different from the others. The walls here were blank and the air felt heavy with sadness. Maya stood in the center of the room and seemed to become more solid, more human-looking. "This is why we revealed ourselves to you," she said. "We are old and tired of being guardians. We want to rest, but the galaxy still needs protection from species like the Draconians." Rick understood what Maya was saying, but he could hardly believe it. "You want us to take your place." "Not take our place," Maya corrected. "Become something better than we ever were. We hid in the shadows and removed threats silently. But humans have something we lost long ago. You have hope. You believe that even bad people can become good if given the chance." Lisa felt the weight of what Maya was saying. "You want humanity to become the new guardians of the galaxy." Maya nodded. "You are not ready yet. Your technology is still very basic, and your understanding of the galaxy is limited. But you have the most important quality a guardian needs. You care about others, even strangers, even enemies." Amy Parker was thinking about the huge responsibility Maya was describing. "What if we're not good enough? What if we make mistakes?" "We'll make mistakes," Maya said with certainty. "We made many mistakes over the millions of years we served as guardians, but your mistakes will come from trying to help, not from wanting to control or punish." Maya led them to a final room where the walls showed Earth as it looked right now. Lisa could see her homeworld turning slowly in space, blue and white and beautiful. "Your people do not know it yet, but they are about to inherit the greatest responsibility in the galaxy," Maya said. "The question is, are you ready to help them prepare for it?" Lisa looked at her teammates. Rick's face was serious, but determined. Dr. Martinez looked overwhelmed but excited. Amy Parker looked scared but brave. They were just 4 humans in a vast galaxy full of dangers, but they were also representatives of a species that had spent thousands of years learning to care about others. "We'll try," Lisa said simply. Maya smiled, and for the first time since they had met her, she looked truly happy. That is all anyone can do, and it is more than most species ever attempt. Outside the Guardian station, the galaxy continued its ancient dance of creation and destruction. But now there was hope for something new. Maya brought the team to the heart of the Guardian station. This room was different from all the others. It was perfectly round, with walls that seemed to be made of living light. In the center stood a device that looked like a tree made of crystal and silver. "This is the Guardian core," Maya explained. "From here, we have protected thousands of worlds for millions of years. And now, it is time to pass this responsibility to humanity." Dr. Lisa Chen felt scared and excited at the same time. The device in front of them controlled power beyond imagination. With it, humans could protect every innocent world in the galaxy, but they could also make terrible mistakes that might hurt billions of people. "How does it work?" Dr. Martinez asked. He was staring at the crystal tree with wide eyes. Maya walked to the device and placed her hand on its surface. Immediately, the room filled with images from across the galaxy. Lisa could see hundreds of star systems, each one containing worlds full of life. "The core is connected to every Guardian station in the galaxy," Maya explained. "When a threat appears, the stations work together to stop it. But it requires more than technology. It requires wisdom, compassion, and the courage to make hard choices." Commander Rick Davis was thinking about the military implications. What kind of threats are we talking about? The images in the room changed to show various dangers. Lisa saw fleets of warships heading toward peaceful planets. She saw plague ships carrying diseases meant to wipe out entire populations. She saw machines that could destroy stars and turn solar systems into lifeless darkness. The galaxy is full of species that believe the strong should rule the weak, Maya said. They see kindness as weakness and compassion as foolishness. Without guardians to stop them, they would eventually destroy all life except their own. Parker was looking at a display that showed the current positions of hostile fleets throughout the galaxy. There are so many of them. Yes, Maya agreed. Which is why the Guardians cannot simply disappear. Someone must take our place, or billions of innocent people will die. Maya moved to a different part of the core and touched another section. Now the room showed scenes from Earth's history, but not the ones Lisa expected. She saw moments when humans had chosen to help others even when it cost them greatly. "Watch this," Maya said softly. The images showed a young American soldier during the Vietnam War. He had found a village under attack and could have kept walking to safety. Instead, he stayed to help evacuate the children, even though it meant he might be captured or killed. The scene changed to show a doctor in Africa during an epidemic. She could have returned to her safe home in Europe, but she stayed to treat patients even when she became sick herself. Then Lisa saw a teacher in a poor neighborhood who spent her own money to buy food for hungry students. A firefighter who died, saving people from a burning building. A man who jumped into a frozen river to rescue a stranger who had fallen through the ice. "Every day humans make these choices," Maya said. "You risk your lives for people you barely know. You sacrifice your comfort for the well-being of others. This is not normal in the galaxy." Dr. Martinez was still trying to understand the science behind the Guardian core. How do we control something this powerful without making mistakes? Maya smiled at him. You will make mistakes. We made many mistakes during our time as Guardians. The difference is that your mistakes will come from trying to help too much, not from trying to control others. The room around them began to change. The walls became transparent, and Lisa could see the vast network of Guardian stations throughout the galaxy. Each one was connected to the others by streams of energy that looked like rivers of light. There are over 300 Guardian stations, Maya explained. Each one protects dozens of star systems. When a threat appears, they share information instantly and work together to stop it. Rick was thinking about the logistics of such a massive operation. How many people would it take to run all of this? That is the beauty of the system, Maya replied. It does not require armies or bureaucracies. The core responds to pure intention. When you truly want to protect innocent life, it amplifies your power and wisdom. Maya walked back to the crystal tree in the center of the room. But it must be guided by someone who understands both strength and mercy. Someone who can make the hard choice to stop a threat while still caring about the people who created that threat. Lisa understood what Maya was asking. You want me to become the new Guardian Prime? I want you to choose, Maya corrected. This is not something that can be forced or commanded. The core will only respond to someone who accepts the responsibility, freely. Lisa looked around the room at her teammates. Rick nodded at her encouragingly. Dr. Martinez looked excited about the possibilities. Amy Parker smiled and gave her a thumbs up. What about the rest of humanity? Lisa asked. Shouldn't they have a say in this decision? Maya touched the core again, and the room filled with new images. These showed Earth as it would be in the future. Lisa saw human ships traveling between the stars, not as conquerors but as protectors. She saw human diplomats helping alien species resolve conflicts peacefully. She saw human doctors sharing medical knowledge with worlds that had never seen. Disease cured. Your species will not remain on Earth forever, Maya said. Within a few generations, humans will spread throughout the galaxy. Some will be explorers, some will be traders, some will be teachers, but all of them will carry the human gift of caring about others. The images showed human colonies on distant worlds, but these were not like the old colonial empires from Earth's history. The humans were working alongside alien species as equals, sharing technology and knowledge freely. This is what the galaxy could become with human guardians, Maya continued. Not a place ruled by the strongest, but a community where everyone helps everyone else. Lisa stepped forward and placed her hand on the crystal tree. Immediately she felt connected to every guardian station in the galaxy. She could sense the threats that were moving through space at that very moment. She could feel the fear of innocent people on worlds that were about to be attacked, but she also felt something else. Hope. From thousands of worlds came the feeling of people who believed that tomorrow could be better than today. It was the same feeling that drove humans to help strangers and risk their lives for others. I accept, Lisa said quietly. The moment she spoke those words, the Guardian core began to glow more brightly. Energy flowed through the crystal tree and out to every station in the galaxy. Lisa felt knowledge entering her mind. She learned how to detect threats across vast distances. She learned how to move hostile fleets to safe locations where they could not hurt anyone. She learned how to inspire hope in people who had given up. Maya stepped back as the light from the core surrounded Lisa. The transfer is complete. You are now Guardian Prime of the galaxy. But something was different. Instead of feeling the weight of impossible responsibility, Lisa felt supported by millions of voices. Every human who had ever chosen kindness over cruelty was somehow with her. Every person who had ever helped a stranger was lending her their strength. I'm not alone, Lisa realized. No guardian ever is, Maya replied. The power comes not from the technology, but from the love that guides it. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy began to change. The first sign was when the Vorthan Empire launched an attack on the peaceful Kepler colonies. Their fleet of war cruisers was moving toward the defenseless planets when they suddenly found themselves in empty space millions of miles away from their target. But instead of leaving them stranded, human ships appeared to offer assistance. The Vorthan warriors expected to be destroyed or captured. Instead, they were invited aboard human vessels and offered food, medical care, and a chance to talk about why they felt the need to attack others. For the first time in their history, the Vorthans met people who were stronger than them, but chose to be kind instead of cruel. Many of them decided to go home and rethink their way of life. Similar events happened throughout the galaxy. Aggressive species found their fleets moved away from their targets, but then found themselves face to face with humans who wanted to understand their problems and help solve them peacefully. Captain Jake Morrison, who had witnessed the disappearance of the Draconian fleet, now commanded the first human guardian ship. The vessel was called Liberty, and it represented a new kind of power in the galaxy. It was strong enough to stop any threat, but its real weapon was the crew's determination to find peaceful solutions to every conflict. Dr. Lisa Chen, now Guardian Prime, worked from the ancient station that had once belonged to Maya, but she was not alone there. Teams of humans from Earth came to learn how to operate the Guardian network. Scientists, diplomats, teachers, and healers all took part in the great work of protecting the galaxy. Maya and the other ancient Guardians finally allowed themselves to rest. They had spent millions of years fighting the darkness in the galaxy. Now they could watch as humanity brought something new to that fight. Not just the power to stop evil, but the wisdom to transform it into good. The Draconian fleet had disappeared because Earth's secret was finally ready to be revealed. Humanity's greatest strength was not their weapons or their technology,